For Chorus Collective and NYU Stern School of Business, Berkeley Center for Entrepreneurship, I'm Leon Lee.
And I'm Antonio Di Meglio. This is Capital Calling, where founders step into the spotlight to face real investors, real feedback, and a real opportunity for investment.
Now, let's meet our founder.
Joining the call today is Sachin Dasari of Athlitix, where AI meets the artistry of figure skating. His platform captures every spin, jump, and landing in real time, giving skaters and coaches the feedback they've never had until now. Will he answer the call? We'll find out.
But first, let's meet the investors. Sachin, Capital is calling. Do you have what it takes for a perfect 10?
Hi everyone, my name is Sachin Dasari, co-founder and CEO of Athlitix.
Hey Sachin, good to meet you. I'm Neel Murthy. I'm the head of growth at Rippling, which is a human capital management software company. Prior to that, I started a fund called Pioneer Fund, which is about 500 YC alumni investing in YC companies. I'm still an investment partner there. And I also do strategic advice and angel investing on my own.
Hi, I'm Jen Wolf. I used to be the managing partner at Initialized Capital, a seed stage venture capital firm. My background's in product and design, so usually I'm a strategic advisor for startups in that area, and I do some angel investing now.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Kagan. I'm the managing partner of Textbook Ventures, and that's a dad joke because I'm a professor at Columbia, Cornell, and NYU, and I teach entrepreneurship and digital marketing. So most of my investments are very early, pre-seed or seed, and they tend to be folks who've come out of those programs, usually alumni who've gone about 5 years and found some big, boring problem that they can solve for $1 billion.
As a former college athlete, I noticed a huge disparity in the gap of performance data between professional sports teams and those at the amateur level. At the professional level, 97% of sports teams use at least one analytics professional who uses sophisticated tools to measure everything, from speed to technique to biomechanics. But there's a gap at the amateur level where athletes can't access this type of performance data. And this gap is caused by requirements of expensive censored equipment and access to professional facilities that these athletes don't have. It leaves them guessing about their progress, and it leaves coaching to be purely subjective at this level. That's where Athlitix comes in. We're able to deliver professional level insights to every athlete through their smartphone. An athlete can upload a video of their performance and within minutes get detailed sport-specific metrics as well as AI coaching recommendations to help them get better. And we're able to do this through our proprietary technology that leverages state-of-the-art computer vision and AI. But this isn't just off-the-shelf tech. It's customized and curated with our own datasets and models that are unique to us. Over the last 3 months, we've conducted a private beta in our first sport of figure skating on our website. In that beta, we've had over 200 users and over 1,000 videos uploaded to our platform. We're launching our first mobile app for figure skating next week, and we want to scale this to a whole pipeline of different sports. Thank you for listening. I'd love to show you a demo. So this is the beta version that we currently have on our website. And basically, the first sport we're targeting is figure skating with the whole pipeline of sports down the line. So users can upload a video, enter their height. And once they're in this video player, they're able to select different frames to be able to get their body positioning and different angles. If you see the screen right here, you can see the angles of each of their joints, and this is very key for biomechanics, and coaches know what to do with this data right here because you can see exactly where you need to bend your arms more, exactly where you need to bend your legs more, and it's very helpful for athletes when they're doing spins and jumps to know this type of data. And I think the best part of it is when they come to their jumps, just some context, in figure skating, jumps are a huge part of their routine, and that's something that we've kind of nailed down with our data. Athletes can enter any type of jump that they're doing. And on this screen, you see the metrics that we're able to provide for figure skaters. It's jump height, jump distance, air time, launch velocity, launch angle, jump rotations, and your RPM. With all of this data, athletes are able to track every one of their jumps, and every practice turns into a measurable opportunity for growth. But the cool part is, with all this data that our computer vision models are able to generate, we're able to give AI recommendations and AI analysis, comparing each of their athletes' metrics to what ideal metrics should be for that athlete based on gender and age. And with these comparisons and this data, we also have sports scientists on our team who help us give improvement recommendations. And a cool part for athletes is we're able to visualize their jumps in very cool ways by adding cool features for them to post on social media. And that's a community feature, is another feature that we want to implement. And we think that's a huge part for what we're trying to do. But thank you.
Yeah, Sachin, this is great. One question I have right off the bat, you mentioned that this is not off-the-shelf tech. So what are you building? Talk a little bit about the computer vision model that you're using, and then specifically, what are the data sets that are proprietary that train the model?
Yeah, I had the same question. Where are you getting the unique data to train the model that makes you different?
Just on the computer vision side, right now we're using open source, but we're customizing and training it with our own data. That's going to the proprietary data part. In figure skating, there's no competition or tools. So we went and recorded our first 100 videos of figure skaters, and we were able to use that to train our models. And now with our platform out and our beta version out, we've collected over 1,000 videos from figure skaters. So we're able to use those videos to train our data. In the future, in future sports like swimming, tennis, baseball, we've already talked to college coaches at different Division I programs, and they've agreed to give us videos of their past practices and games for us to use to train our models. So both aspects. For figure skating, we have our own videos that we're collecting from our platform, and in different other sports, we have college teams helping us with their videos.
But sticking with the figure skating, like what data points are you pulling from those videos, and how, like, what is differentiated so that someone can't just go film another 100 videos and do the same thing?
Well, what's cool about our platform is it's already kind of labeled. So athletes put what type of jump they're doing, and we're able to see exactly the numbers for each type of jump. And with all that data, we're able to give like different recommendations and tell you exactly where you need to get better for each type of jump.
Got it. So what you did was you filmed the videos and then you
that was
labeled
initially
it.
Get it, yeah.
And so your data set is that you labeled all of the jumps for these athletes.
We're currently labeling. Labeling takes quite a bit of time,
Fair
so
enough.
we're in the process of that. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about this market a bit more? So is it something do you think college athlete programs would pay for it, or they buy the software, or I guess how can what's the business model around this, and who wants to buy it?
Yeah, so there's both a B2C model with targeting the individual athletes, and there's also the B2B model with college teams and huge organizations where we can license our technology. Talking to college coaches, they love the idea of performance data, and right now they even try to get this data manually by clicking buttons on game footage, trying to get data about their athletes, but this is a very time-consuming process, and that's something that we're automating for them, and we're able to give them more extensive insights. On the B2C side, the individual user, all they have to do is set up their phone at an ice rink, go out, record a jump, and you get data about yourself. It's honestly not out there before without censored equipment and access to professional wearables. So that's something, the B2C and B2B side.
And how is it a time-saving aspect for, like, a coach can obviously look at a video and give feedback to the person, the athlete. So is it just saving that person time, or is there additional benefit that you're adding on top of like a human expert that could review a video?
Yeah, so it's time-saving, and then there's also the whole part of what computer vision can do that your naked eye can do, your naked eye can't do. With just your naked eye, you can't really see minimal things that an athlete can do better. So if you have data about your jump height, you can see by the centimeter exactly how much you're improving, which a coach with their naked eye wouldn't be able to see.
Can we talk a little bit about competition? Do you see a lot of competition? Because I know there's folks doing this in, you mentioned swimming. I know somebody doing it in swimming with a actual robot that goes underwater to film you. There's folks in tennis and baseball and a very well-funded golf startup doing something similar. Do you see any of these as competitive threats? Do you have a differentiation that you haven't mentioned yet? Or is figure skating something that you have a direct connection to that that's I guess a separate question. Why figure skating is the first one?
For figure skating, we picked figure skating first because when we evaluated the market, we liked it as our initial beachhead. Figure skating right now has no competition or tools, and we saw that our product kind of fits their users' behaviors right now. They already record all their jumps and videos, so we're able to implement our tech easily into their workflows. On top of that, it's a good opportunity for us to test our design and tech in a sport where there's no other tools, and for us to eventually scale it in the future. Finally, like I mentioned, the no competition factor was huge for us. And we understand that in these different sports, there is going to be competitors. But one technological differentiation that we like is that in figure skating, our models are trained for different movements. Like you mentioned, golf and baseball, mostly stationary sports. And we have X, Y, and Z coordinates on our models because figure skaters move in all types of directions, which we believe could translate to different sports like track and field and gymnastics and diving, swimming, movement sports that kind of differentiate us from these other competitors that are purely in tennis and baseball. And that it's very strategic on our part which sports we're going to pick in our pipeline, where we feel like the market is big enough, but we also have less competition that we have to deal with. And we think we can differentiate with our tech and also how we're approaching our UI and UX design implementation. A lot of these competitors are focused purely on data and numbers, and we're trying to democratize it so that athletes as young as 12 years old can understand exactly how their numbers are impacting them and making it very playful and fun for them with a community feature, leaderboards, different ways to engage them past purely just the data.
Let's talk a little bit more about that tech, because there was something you said in the pitch that seems a bit at odds. You said there's AI recommendations for the athletes, but also that you had sports scientists making recommendations. How does that work together?
So our sports scientists, we have an advisor in figure skating. His name is Garrett Lukash. He won the USA Coach of the Year and Sports Scientist of the Year award multiple times. But basically, the sports science stuff is they basically give you ideal ranges for each athlete and for their gender and age to be able to tell you exactly where they should be performing on their jump height, jump distance, their launch velocity, and different metrics like that for each age group. And we're able to use that data and compare it to the data that we generate about each athlete.
Feeding the model. They're not actually giving recommendations. They're giving like benchmarks.
They give benchmarks, and then we get data and we compare it to those benchmarks.
Got it. So that makes sense. But then on the tech side, I'm still trying to understand the differentiation, because again, if you're using an off-the-shelf computer vision model, where does the defensible mechanism you're building from a technology standpoint?
So the way we're training our models and our algorithms are on the X, Y, and Z coordinates. Like I said, like he said, there's a lot of competitors in baseball and golf, and they're analyzing purely stationary athletes. But we feel like what we're doing with figure skating that could translate to other sports is movement across the field, in different directions, which these athletes aren't doing. And we've already done it in figure skating with our own algorithms and our own formulas. And we believe we can translate that to different sports like track and field, swimming, and gymnastics.
Okay, let me ask it maybe another way. Maybe talk about your technical background or your co-founder's technical background, and what are you building that's proprietary? Is there the algorithms, for example? Are you building some proprietary knowledge base there that's not replicable?
So my background, I'm a student athlete. I'm not technical, but I graduated from NYU Stern with finance and entrepreneurship concentrations. My technical co-founder has a master's in AI from Northeastern, and he's won multiple computer vision hackathons. But the defensible part is purely the data sets and the models that we're using. The foundational models we plan to build with all of this data that we're generating, but the data is what the valuable currency is here. And we're generating that from videos uploaded to our platform, already labeled, and then also with these partnerships with these different college teams who have agreed to proprietarily give it only to us.
Sorry, not to monopolize, but is there an advantage then on the data labeling side, right? So if that's your competitive advantage, are you faster at data labeling than some other?
I would say not data labeling, but data training is where we have the real advantage for able to train it exactly how we want with videos that we get exactly how we want.
Can you tell me who's going to pay? And also just a quick question, how many figure skaters, pro and amateur, are there in the U.S.?
Okay. For the payment part, there's an organization plan and there's going to be a freemium B2C plan. We plan to have different subscription tiers. Early on, we don't want to turn off figure skating users just because we're the only tool, so we want to engage them as much as possible. On the organization plan, we plan to also add an organizational layer in the future where coaches and athletes communicate directly and they're able to have annotation, different tools and features like that. And sorry, what was your second question?
How many people in the market?
So in the U.S. alone, there's 750K registered figure skaters, and that doesn't encompass figure skaters that might be just skating for fun. So our market estimate is that we eventually want to take about 10% of this U.S. registered market, equivalent to 75K figure skaters. And with our pricing benchmark subscription for individuals around like $20 a month. We estimate to hopefully make about $18 million from figure skating alone.
Where'd you get the number of 750,000 skaters?
That's like the registered skaters, so that's online.
Do you have any results so far on like someone using the software and improving their performance?
So we don't have any like data results about performance, but now with our app releasing in about a week, we want to get those like benchmarks of like a figure skater using it now and then them using it in about like 3 months, and we want to be able to have those type of studies as well.
Thank you so much for your time, Sachin. We'll see you back in a few minutes.
All right, judges, it is now time for the judges debrief portion of the show. How are we feeling about the pitch?
Good pitch. I think that my concerns are more around why did they choose figure skating? It seems kind of a random choice when there's so many other sports with high net worth individuals who might be willing to pay for this kind of personalized coaching.
I'm going to be probably way too critical since the early stage, but don't love the technical differentiation. It's off-the-shelf model as a data set isn't very proprietary. They took some videos. People can do that. There's no like data labeling mode. It's very, very concerning for me from like a technical aspect in a very competitive space.
I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with you on the model. I think I'd rather they use the most up-to-date computer vision model. I think it's their interpretation. And the challenge I have to agree is like, can they get a data advantage? If they can get a bunch of people uploading videos, perhaps, but those aren't their videos.
No. It's a fair pushback, and that's why I don't think it's necessarily just, hey, they don't have an advantage on the model. None of the places in the stack did they have an advantage, right? So if you came back and said, oh, we have a great way to get data labeling faster, which means like we can stay ahead of the competition, then I agree with you. Using an off-the-shelf computer vision model is okay. But every portion that I poked into, there was no like advantage, which is difficult for me to.
They captured the whole figure skating market and got all that uploaded video.
How do they move into baseball, golf, where there's competition and there's no technical moat? That's the problem for me.
Yeah. I think just to pile on that, I think in any space that's AI, because it's so hot and popular now, just there's so many people that with so much technical expertise piling into this space that you need to be like, have some type of extra good advantage, either in your background, you worked in this space before, or you have some special sauce on how you're labeling or building or getting data. Without that, then there's just going to be other people who can easily pass you by. But I think the idea is very interesting. There's a lot of people working on it. Obviously, there's a need. So it's just a question of like who's got the best solution and then also the best maybe sales aspect of it as well. I think the go-to-market for whoever is going to win this space will be important as well, just because there'll be so many people flooding in.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see how they differentiate the market. It seems to be like we were talking about golf and tennis and baseball. Those are swing-based sports. There's team sports. This is an individual sport that they kind of alluded to. The 3D aspect was interesting, and I could see some follow-on questions there to find out how they view that differentiation. Is it so deep that perhaps there will be segments of the market, but it seems like there's no defensible advantage, and so betting on which of the 40 companies doing it will win is going to be a much more difficult choice. Some of these guys are putting together robots. Like there's a swimming company that actually has an underwater robot to collect their own proprietary data. That seems to be an advantage that they could build over the long term. Now, this is obviously different, but the accessibility of using your phone for video is also a limitation at the same time. So I guess I think the jury's out on that one.
I get your point on the robot. I think the mass market appeal of just being able to upload videos here is actually a strength in my opinion. The problem is without that moat combined with how easily accessible taking videos are, that's the disconnect. I actually think if they were able to do this off of just a camera on your phone and do it better than someone else, that's a bigger opportunity than building proprietary robots.
So Neel, what is a technical component that could create a moat for Athlitix then?
So I think there's like two ways I view this, right? If the computer vision model was better than something you could get off the shelf, that would be one way to go about it. The other one, which to Jeremy's point, like that's harder to do, takes more time. The other one would be, okay, well, I'm going to get a data advantage and I'm going to actually have the ability to generate the training sets for these models at a much quicker clip, right? So I am doing data labeling 10x faster than a competitor. I have something that allows me to get an accumulating advantage on the data set. That would be a technical advantage that is easier to do potentially, and that would have made me really excited about this company.
All right, Jen, in your experience, to what extent does the go-to-market strategy have to be developed at this stage of his company? He's clearly just getting started out. So when should he start to think about who he can sell his product to?
Well, I think you don't have to have a fully functioning go-to-market at this point, but he should have talked to a lot of his users to have some understanding of how is he going to sell it to them? What's the price point they're going to pay? What are the aspects of it that are going to be most differentiated for them, so that he can then both build his product and his marketing and his interface around, towards those particular user needs. And, that's why I had that question about, well, do you have any data at the end that proves this is successful so far? He's going towards that, but I sort of do feel like without some proof point for a lot of these people, it's fun to start doing it, but, without knowing that it works, then you're going to peter out, and it's not going to be something that's going to be a long-term sale. So, a lot of it is just have some hypotheses on how it's going to happen based on talking to people about what they want to buy and what their interest is.
And so, Jeremy, you brought up a big question. Why figure skating? I do not think Sachin is a figure skater, so it's an interesting question for him. So I must ask, though, it feels like he is clearly doing that to reach a beachhead market. He sees a technical advantage there. To what extent is that helping him or holding him back? And even more generally, for outside of the scope of Sachin and Athlitix, would you suggest going for a beachhead market initially prior to expansion? Or would you suggest him to test out a variety of different things from this early stage?
Well, he seems like a smart guy. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. It sounded like they had looked at a bunch of markets and they chose that one because of lack of competition and they felt they could get an advantage. Whether we agree or not that that's an advantage. The challenge I have here is the paradox is if he gets a real strength in that market, how does that apply to other things, which is why we talked about that segmentation. And it's a really cool idea, but just saying that we're going to do it as a freemium product, I think your point about what will people be willing to pay and why, and how, with a freemium model, I love the word free in marketing. It's really powerful. But there has to be a natural place where it makes sense to pay. So if it's, there's certain things where that naturally takes place. I would really need to dig in to see if it's not just him saying, and one day people will upgrade. Because there needs to be a reason. In many of these cases, it's the coaches who pay out of their budgets to make their athletes better because they're getting paid to coach. But in this case, it's more of a consumer-focused thing. So we didn't really hear any features or suggestions of features that might make somebody level up and say, I'll pay $10 a month. That's $120 a year. It's healthy, but we'd have to see where that goes.
Right. And an open-ended question for you all. So he's speaking to you all, a set of 3 investors, prior to launching his product. What are some of the things you all look out for generally in pre-launch products when you're evaluating them for an investment?
I guess I would say I look for the ability to build something, so at least a prototype that shows it's working, and that was, great. An understanding of the market, and ideally, traction is such a flexible word, but ideally some sense that people really want this.
Yeah, I hate to harp on this, but I think you need to have some sort of advantage in what you're building. Product market fit, founder market fit, technical advantage in this space especially that's competitive is hugely advantageous, and speed of execution. So I think the demo was great. Ship product, get some data and feedback. I don't think it should take you 3 months to figure out if a figure skater is improving. That's much too long, in my opinion. You should be able to have demonstrated proof points much sooner.
I agree with that all of that. And I guess just to add on to it, I think also we're sort of going around, what's the aspect of this founder to tell the story around, this company and sort of sell it to people who he would need to hire, or people who need to buy it, people who need to invest in it. I think we didn't really get as much of that from him other than that he had been a student athlete. And, in contrast to some of the other founders we've seen, just having much more of a sense for ourselves as to why this is super relevant for him, both in terms of his background and his interests, would be helpful, because that's something you have to sell to. That's the idea you have to sell to your employees, to other people, and having that in a founder is an important aspect as well in an early stage.
So founder market fit is something that's important for you pre-launch.
Yes, founder market fit, or at least ability to sell the vision of the product or the company. And it wasn't sold as much as, I guess, as big as it could be for me. I think it's one of the things we were struggling with as well.
All right, judges, thank you so much for your feedback on Sachin and Athlitix. Now sending it back to Leon, who is currently on hold with Sachin.
Welcome to the on-call room. My name is Leon. I'm here with Sachin. Sachin, how did you think you did on the pitch?
I think overall it went well. I think certain parts I could have done a little better, but overall it went well.
So Sachin, you said your background as a student athlete. What inspired you to pursue building out athletics?
Athletics was born from my experiences and observations as a student athlete. One example I can give you is our coach used to make us watch a lot of film of our practices and games to see how we can get better. While watching this film, first it was a very time-consuming process to watch videos over and over again to see how you can get better, but also there's only a certain amount you can see with the naked eye, and you can't really track exactly if you're getting better or not. It's purely subjective, and that's where the idea for athletics came about, to make this process more objective and data-driven by providing every athlete in the world and any sport data to get better at their sport, to be able to track their progress, and to turn coaching purely into objective, data-driven decisions.
Awesome. And in terms of, for you personally, which sport did you play? And to follow up on what Jeremy was asking, why figure skating specifically, if you could clarify some more.
In college, I played volleyball, but our first market for athletics is figure skating. We picked figure skating because when we evaluated the market, we liked it as an initial beachhead for us. Figure skating has no competition and tools right now other than us, and we saw that the pattern of how users had their workflows of recording videos on the ice rink fit perfectly with our technology. On top of that, figure skating is a great place for us to experiment our tech and our design for us to scale it to other sports with the movement and jumps that are involved in figure skating.
On figure skating and in computer vision technology and sports in general, Neel was interested in your technical moat, your defensibility, in terms of if someone else were to have this idea to replicate it, how are you able to defend yourself?
Well, the moat is in the data for training our computer vision models. Eventually, we want to build our own foundational models that no one can absolutely replicate. But right now, our moat is in the data that we collect, both in figure skating as well as in these other sports with partnerships with college teams.
And for you personally and for athletics down the line, what other sports do you envision you guys being a part of? Because right now for figure skating, it's a solo sport, potentially a dual sport. But how do you expand athletics offerings to incorporate like basketball, where a team sport has so many other variables?
The first 5 sports we're targeting are purely individual just because of that reason that you brought up. And the first 5 sports are figure skating, golf, baseball, hockey, and tennis. And these sports we're targeting because of all these other variables in team sports. But once we build this foundation in the individual sports first, we believe we can cater it with our own models and with our own data to these team sports and be able to provide accurate analysis for them as well.
But isn't hockey a team sport though?
So hockey is a team sport, but when they practice primarily individually. So athletes go and shoot on their own. And we want athletes to use it as an individual thing where they can use it in their backyard, practicing their shots against a wall, practicing their swings, and be able to do things individually and get insights specifically for them.
So Sachin, you mentioned in the pitch that you are aiming to target the 750,000 figure skaters out there, aiming to capture 10% of that audience. How do you go about capturing that market for athletics?
So first, there's the B2C route with social media. We want to go viral on TikTok, Instagram, Discord, Reddit. We already have on TikTok. We've got thousands of views on our TikToks. Advertising athletics. Another avenue is with professional figure skaters. With the Winter Olympics coming up in February, we're in talks for partnerships with the top USA Olympic skaters for us to be able to have them advertise our product in the lead up to the Olympics, as well as see how the athletics improve their outcome after the Olympics. On top of that, we already have an advisor on our team who's a USA Coach of the Year, Sports Scientist of the Year, Garrett Lukish, and we plan to leverage his network as well for us to be able to capture the 75K figure skaters that we aim to target.
So for athletics, you guys are built on a freemium model. What methods do you have to transition or capture new clients, but also convert them into paying clients?
So right now we're collecting data on exactly how users use our platform and which features are most valuable for them. And that will play a part in which features are priced and which features are free. But the retention factor is huge for us. And that's where we believe the social community is. And we need that for that exact reason. And with the community feature, we plan to have leaderboards, different feeds and like news pages for people to come back, use our app, not only for the analytics that we provide, but also to interact with their friends, to engage in figure skating communities, and keep them on the app for that.
Oh, a gamified version of it.
And exactly. We want to gamify the data and analytics. We don't want to make it too hard for 12-year-olds to understand. We want to make it as easy as possible, as fun as possible, and as enjoyable as possible for the users.
Well, this has been super enjoyable, Sachin. This has been On Call Room. My name is Leon, and now back to the studio.
Sachin, welcome back.
Thank you for letting me pitch. It's been a pleasure. Before we get to the verdicts, I'd like to say some final words. Athlitix is a sports technology platform on a mission to democratize access to sports analytics. We want to bring professional level performance tracking down to athletes at all levels. Back in May, we won the Audience Choice Award and the $75K grand prize at the NYU Entrepreneurs Challenge. That has led to strategic partnerships with different angels and investors in the NYC ecosystem.
Awesome, Sachin. Well, first of all, thank you for your pitch. Appreciate it. I'll give you a little bit of feedback on the pitch and then my verdict from my end. So I will say the thing that I was missing and what I was trying to get at with the questions didn't come out in the pitch is sort of what is your technical moat? And the reason why I focused on that is because I think you were a little too early on the go-to-market moat. What I couldn't get from any of the questions was like, where are you ahead of the competition? Where are you moving faster? And what would be your defensibility? And so for that reason, I think like this isn't a good fit for me, but I hope that you prove me wrong.
I think the idea that you're working on is super interesting, and I really like that you've got your own personal tie to it and that you are also a student athlete, so you kind of understand, what some of the needs are. I guess I would say in anything related to AI today, there's just so many people piling in and trying to like move very quickly and do a lot of things. So I guess I would encourage you to similar to what Neel said, try to move very quickly to get ahead of them. I'm more in the boat of, I'm interested to see how you do and what progress you manage to make over time. So, I'd like to keep track of what you're doing, but definitely, interested in the space and the idea.
Hey, Sach, thanks so much for pitching, and I really appreciate hearing more about your business. What I'd love to say is the pitch itself didn't give me a couple of key pieces of information, so I'd love to keep in touch and hear more as you progress. But there's two areas where I really want to see how you're different and can beat the competition. And one is the technology, where we have different disagreements perhaps on the exact technical advantage that would be great for you, but the data or something could be the thing that puts you ahead. And I'd love to see that nailed down better. The other side, though, is a proprietary distribution advantage. And it seems to me if you're going to give away this product, maybe you can secure a partnership with one of the organizations that's helping figure skaters now. That wouldn't be something that's overly complicated or expensive. I'd love to see that before really considering whether that would be something we could partner with. One of the things that really those things would answer is there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of really good ideas like this are being built by very smart people like yourselves. When we see 40 companies out there, we have to bet and figure out who's going to be the winner. And if someone's got $40 million, at least one of these companies has a ton of money, how are you uniquely going to beat them despite that? And I don't think it's impossible, but I didn't get that message yet. So how are you going to beat the competition, whether it's building or selling? Either one of those could be a great angle. So I'd love to keep track of what you're doing. Keep me on your mailing list so I can say I knew you when.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Good.
Thanks, Sir.
Sure.
Thank you.
That's it from the studio, but don't hang up just yet.
We'll be calling Sachin back in just a few weeks.
A special thanks to the New York University Stern School of Business's Berkeley Center for Entrepreneurship team for making this production possible. Be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of Capital Calling. Disclaimer, the Capital Calling podcast and any related media properties produced by Coas Collective are provided solely for informational and educational purposes. Nothing presented in this episode should be construed as an offer to sell or a solicitation of an offer to buy any securities, investments, or financial products. Coas Collective does not provide investment advice, and all opinions expressed are those of the host or guest at the time of recording.